south and north Waziristan only, and it is documented. The rest we don't know about the cases which are not documented. Similarly, the mineral resources of KPK are looted and plundered, while locals are neither paid royalty nor employed in petroleum and mining industry. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa produce cheaper hydro electricity, but locals are deprived of this facility. All the natural and mineral resources of KPK are controlled by Punjab, and locals have no right to their wealth. Now I will invite our last speaker. You will be a little bit tired, but thank you very much for your patience. I invite Claudia Heidelberg. Is a human rights defender from Germany, but her heart beats always for assassinations like Pashtun and Baloch in Pakistan. She has done a month's work for the oppressed nations at United Nations and through her think tank, the Baloch Project. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, dear Fazal Borrechman Afridi, for inviting me to share my analysis with you. Today I will speak about terrorism that is put on your country. And I've heard that many here of the Pashtuns are speaking German. So let me say some words in German. Vielen Dank, dass ich hier sein darf, und ich freue mich, dass ich meine Analysen mit Ihnen teilen kann. Und ja, dann beginnen wir einfach mal. Esteemed friends of the Pashtun movement PTM, ladies and gentlemen, terrorism and its alleged fight is a phenomenon that doesn't tend to stop and that has its political driving reasons. As a survivor and witness of the terrorist attack in Luxor, Egypt in 1997 and the years of persecution by the terrorist Grey Wolves of Turkey for the terrorist group responsible, the suppression of my book with the document of my testimony prompted me to research the structures of terrorism more deeply. As a law graduate, I'm also specialized in criminology. Terrorism encountering is a tried and tested means of oppressing a population, keeping it in check, denying them their rights, stealing resources, maintaining the power status quo in this artificial state entity of Pakistan by declaring a state of emergency and not withdrawing it, that paralyzes institutions and blackmails desired policies, etc. In the case of the Pashtuns and their many years of suffering as a result of terror and the war on terror, the actual rulers in Pakistan, the military, the Punjabis, succeed in maintaining the artificial state of Pakistan and removing the forces imposed by the British through their concept of divide et impera, divide and rule, weakening the Pashtuns, destroying their economy, kidnapping, torturing and murdering thousands, driving them into exile, preventing the youth from having a future, etc. The fight against the Soviet Union brought and strengthened terrorist groups and religious extremists like the Taliban, who can be conveniently used for control and suppression. To prevent the legitimate rights of Pashtuns, cui bono, who also benefits from this deed. It is just the Pakistani regime, I.E. the military leadership, who, out of great fear of losing their power and control over the multi-ethnic state, then blows the artificially imposed construct of Pakistan right in their face. Or are outside powers also interested in promoting the great game for geopolitical reasons, thereby keeping the Pashtuns down and denying them the legitimate rights they would be entitled to in a true democracy? Which power is interested in Pakistan remaining in its current form, as well as the Durand Line, which, like the Berlin Wall, weakens an entire people, and the retention and strengthening of the terrorist groups alongside the Taliban can continue to terrorize the Pashtuns, as does the military? Is anyone afraid of the Pashtuns being too powerful against their legitimate national interests? What geostrategic interests are involved in maintaining the status quo, even though the colonial era is supposedly over and the Soviet Union no longer exists? What is the point of this artificial state when it would be better if the Pashtuns could at least govern their own country autonomously and the unspeakable Durand line would finally fall? You have to ask the right questions. What is the context of the drone war with the terror of the Taliban? Why are so many terrorist groups cultivated and tolerated there? And why is the Punjabi military power waging war against the Pashtuns, where they are supposedly fighting terror and justifying that PTM is an anti-state movement, although PTM conducts peaceful dialogue with the leadership for their legitimate rights? Such strategies are used all over the world to keep people small until they are destroyed. A lasting peace that would be mutually beneficial can only be achieved through peaceful dialogue and diplomacy. And if those outside forces withdraw from the affairs of Pakistan and its nations and people, the state of emergency could be lifted and a democratic dialogue between the elected government and the leaders of the Pashtun movement could take place. But along the way, there should be a dialogue on an equal footing with the military, without subsequent persecution through kidnapping, torture, and murder. Persecution and repression will not do the military any good. History shows impressively that no such regime can last, and Pakistan is already economically bankrupt, became practically ungovernable due to the high levels of corruption, which in turn weakens them and makes them vulnerable to foreign influence and their significant divergent ones. Time for them to think about how to face the future when the artificial construct of Pakistan falls apart, and that will happen. Terrorist groups, religious state-ordained extremism, polarization, and the absence of any diplomacy and dialogue do not bring about peaceful circumstances. On the contrary, you evoke a civil war. And who could benefit from this geostrategically? Those in power should keep this in mind and not only think of their narcissistic interest. It's 12:05 and the regime is being kept alive artificially only by loans. Lenders should also be aware of the criminal regime they are artificially bracing and that this will lead them in the wrong direction in the future. Anyone who supports such murderers and oppressors for geostrategic interests, who no longer have anything to do with civilized government, is no better themselves and a threat to human rights throughout the world. The UN should also stop being manipulated by the Pakistani pressure and swayed by its lies, and insist on enforcing the legitimate rights of the Pashtuns, as well as the rights of the Baloch, Sindhis, and Kashmiris. In Africa, people are waking up and turning against colonialism and its effects. I wish you Pashtuns that you, together with the Baloch, Sindhi, and Kashmiri, increase your pressure together to strengthen your community and do not allow yourself to be intimidated. Unfortunately, my country, Germany, is on the Pakistani side and only makes non-binding appeals to the regime, which of course has no effect whatsoever. Former Foreign Minister Steinmeier and current Federal President wrote to me about the only appeals. Germany has no independent foreign policy, but is a vessel of American interests. I remain available to use my contacts to provide a remedy for a hopeful future for the Pashtuns. Again, the military should remember that stability and peace can only be achieved through respectful, equal dialogue, and always useful for both sides. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your valued attention.
I would like to